Hi, welcome to another episode of Other Side, the podcast that shed light to the stories that matter. My name is Nianan, and we have another episode. And today, joining me is the man I looked up to. He's been my mentor for how many years? And I get to be the one to interview him today. Kaf, good to have you on the show.
I'm happy to be here. Good to see you, man.
And you're saying that, you get surprised people don't ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, people are not, I get the feeling people are not curious because my whole life has been around asking questions.
Yeah.
And sometimes you wonder when people will go and question the questioner. So this is a very rare moment. I can count the number of times I've been interviewed. So I'm happy to be here. It's refreshing to be on the other side, the one answering the questions now instead of asking. So
and I also want to thank you so much because you've always responded to me. Maybe you wouldn't remember, but somewhere in you joined Star in...
I joined Star FM in 2014.
In 2014, so I sent you an email.
Okay.
I expressed my desire to join your production team. I wasn't too sure whether I was going to get a response from you, but few hours later you responded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you responded.
Nice.
You told me you had already formed your team,
yes,
and that if any opportunity comes up, you definitely...
Okay.
Keep me, in check. Yeah. So that meant a lot to me because at that time I was like, is he going to respond to my mail? And you are very affable. Your doors are always open. And what has made you, this open-hearted?
I think it's my parents, really. My parents are very, very, very open. They're all passed now.
Yeah.
Mother passed 11 years ago. My father 9 years ago. But they were very open. I remember right from the time we were growing up, our house was a very open place, and my parents did not discriminate against anybody. I remember I had a Rasta friend called Ja Wadada, may he rest in peace.
He had dreads like that.
He had dreads, or longer.
Longer than mine.
Yeah. And the first day he came to our house in Adenta, he knocked on the door, and when they said come in, he entered, and it was my father sitting in his chair. And Wadada tells me later that he hesitated. And my father said, no, come right in.
Yeah.
He wanted to know who he was looking for.
Yeah.
And he said he was looking for me. And I was inside the house. It took me about maybe 10 minutes to come out. When I came out, they were having a hearty chat, And when I left the house with Wadada, he said, Charlie, I don't believe, say, your old man makes so open like so, because normally he gets a kind of adverse reaction when parents see his dreads. They think, no, you're not supposed to be part of this house, But my father had this good connection with him, with all my friends. My mom was like that also, very open. And I think it's just rubbed off on not just me, but my brothers as well. So yeah, I think it's from home. Yeah.
And the other thing too is the question of fame. Fame is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can bring great opportunities and rewards to you, but on the other hand, if not managed well, it can also have its own negative implications. Again, I've been wanting to ask you how you have managed to always be on the positive side, of fame throughout all these years.
I don't think of myself as somebody who is famous, I just think of myself as somebody whose work people like.
Yeah.
People like what I do. A lot of people like what I do, and that's it. So I don't for 1 second think that, I'm a famous person, you should know who I am. Anytime I meet somebody new, I like to introduce myself first and then ask for their name. So
even though they think they know you,
yeah, so I said, hi,
my
name is Kafu and you are. So, but we know you. I said, well, I can't assume that everybody knows me.
Yeah.
I remember going to the airport once, traveling to Kumasi, and there was this ridiculous scene of a radio presenter who was screaming at the top of his voice to the baggage handlers, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? And he was expecting people to know who he was. And the people said, we don't care who you are. You're supposed to do this. You haven't done that. So, hey, stay here. So people throw their, okay, you should know who I am, so you should treat me differently. No, I don't believe so. That's the way it should be. So many times I go to the bank and I'm prepared to stay in the queue.
Yeah.
And because you don't want to be seen to be given preferential treatment. People may have been there for 30, 40 minutes, no service. You just come in, and all of a sudden they jump into the front. Although the bank people will want to serve you quicker because they think, oh, celebrity. I don't buy all that. It's just temporary and almost meaningless, really.
Yeah.
Who's a celebrity? We all have blood in our veins. The blood is red. We are all human beings. Everybody wants to be thought of in a positive way. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be respected. Yeah. Everybody wants to be treated nicely. And that's it. I think it's the grounding from my parents, really, that kind of set the way I think. So it's almost as if I cannot but act the way I act. Yeah. So it's not about fame. I'm doing stuff that people like, and a lot of people like it. And a lot of people around the country like it. It's a blessing.
So you think the atmosphere hasn't changed years ago? Because, I mean, for many people got to hear about you or know about your brand.
Yeah.
I think after you hosted Who Wants to Be Rich?
Yeah, the game show.
You agreed that was a show that actually brought your name. I mean, to.
But before that, I think in the Kumasi circles, because of Capital Radio, where I was from 97 to 99, and 99 is 10 years before Who Wants to Be Rich came in 2009.
Yeah, 2009.
Yeah, but between 97 and 99, Capital Radio made a big impression on listeners in the Kumasi area. At that time, it was only GBC Radio that was, Ghana City Radio that was there, and then OTEC, which was the first private radio station. But they didn't have as large as coverage as Capital had. So when Capital came in 97, July 1st, with a breath of fresh air, it was big. And we had all these young presenters. In 97, I was 25, going on 26. So young people, lots of students from tech, young adults doing fresh things. And we had this great boss, Mrs. Ajiman, may she rest in peace, Judith Ajiman. And she just gave us the latitude and the space to be creative. So we did everything, created the jingles, the station IDs, we did promotions, we planned programs. It was just wonderful. Yeah. So in those circles I was known. But then yes, definitely on the national level, it must have been Who Wants to Be Rich, because that show was on 3 different TV stations at the same time. On a good time, at a good time, Sunday evening, 8 o'clock. That is family time.
Getting people anxious.
Oh yeah, it was on GBC, it was on Metro, it was on Joy Prime, or what it was called back then.
Yeah.
So and it was on for 3 years. So
that
was massive.
Unknown to many, the recordings were done in Nigeria. So the crew and all the people you talked to.
So the crew was in Nigeria, because the Nigerians, the producers of the show, also had a franchise. It's an international franchise. They had a franchise to also produce it in Nigeria. So the only people who were flown there were me, the host, and then the production team. There were 2, Robbie and Regina.
Yeah.
And then you had the contestants. The contestants were picked from Ghana and sent there over to Nigeria over a weekend, and would record multiple episodes and then come and air in Ghana.
Yeah. So I'll go back to the radio journey. Did you find radio? Did it take you by surprise? Was it something you had wanted to do? Because when I did a bit of reading about what you've done, you left Accra after your national service to work in Kumasi, and so obviously, I mean, your major focus was on
my work.
On your work.
As a salesperson.
So how did radio or Capital come calling?
So radio came when I was in university.
Okay.
In the second year or so of university, somebody brought a transmitter to Commonwealth Hall. It was a pirate radio station, so it wasn't authorized by the powers that be. We didn't have a frequency or anything. It was a pirate radio station, and we were broadcasting from inside Commonwealth Hall, where I was a member, and I was speaking to the current station manager of Radio Universe, who says, and I asked, so that station that we were working on, was it a sanctioned SRC radio station? They said, no, it was a pirate radio station. Yeah. And when the authorities heard about it, they came looking for it, but the transmitter was mobile. So when they came to Commonwealth Hall,
just quickly,
no transmitter. The thing ended up in Sabah Hall somewhere, and then it disappeared.
Yeah.
But that's where I got my first break. Okay. So I was doing a request show on that show. So doing on that radio station, doing requests for my friends. And I got to know how to use the console and speak on that was the first time. But I had a performing background. I was in a band on campus back then.
Music?
Local Crisis, yes.
So that's another part of you a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, I was in a band.
Before anything, I mean, music was part of
music was there. I was in a band. The band was called Local Crisis. We had members like Nana Finn in it. and Rocky Daouni. That was Rocky Daouni's first
Yeah.
band before he went off to America.
Okay.
The reggae. So I was comfortable with the stage, you know, speaking with or performing in public. But radio's a bit different. So my radio thing started from campus, and then when I got to Kumasi, I heard there was a radio station coming up, and I auditioned and went through the audition, and then the past audition, and joined.
Yeah. You joined Capital Radio. So what was your first program?
I was on the morning show.
Oh,
It
okay.
was called Daybreak Capital.
Daybreak Capital. Yeah.
Yes, and then I also had an African music show called Crisscross
Crisscross Africa. Yeah.
It was on, I
Crisscross,
think,
yeah.
Thursdays.
Thursday nights.
7 to 10, 3 hours. And the format was that in the first hour, we crisscrossed Ghana. So I played music from all around Ghana. In the second hour, I played music from all around Africa. And then in the third hour, I played music from the black diaspora. So you would have reggae, you would have funk, you would have Brazilian music.
Yeah.
You know, so it was just black music, but from going in ever wider circles. So Ghana first, then Africa, then the black diaspora. I'm a Pan-Africanist.
So how are you getting your library? I mean,
we had
during
a library.
that time.
We had a good library. It was CDs.
Okay,
And then
original CDs.
Yes, and we had a guy called Afuse. He's still in Kumasi.
Yeah.
He used to supply the station with CDs.
Okay.
Then there was no MP3. There was no internet. Internet was just coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was CDs.
Yeah.
So we're getting CDs from the local guys on the Pempe II High Street in Kumasi, and they were giving us the CDs and we were playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kosi tells a very well. Maybe I have to confess, I had the privilege of hosting Crisscross.
Okay. On Capital Radio.
Yeah, on Capital at some point, latter days.
Yes.
I mean, this was between, I think, 2014 to 2016.
Okay.
And there was this particular song that Kosi used to play Crisscross.
Kosi Asisai.
Yeah, Kosi Asisai
Yes.
took over.
That's
I
my
mean, at
colleague
some
there.
point, yeah. And then I took over from Kosi. But there was this song, Yo Lele.
Yes, yo
Papa-
lele,
Papa Wemba.
La 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 la. Yo lele. Da, da, da,
Yeah.
da, da,
'Cause he
da,
loved
da,
it so
da,
much.
da,
Yeah.
da, 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 da. He's a great guy, Congolese musician.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Papa Wemba was just the best.
Yes,
Beautiful
yes.
velvet voice.
So I asked Kosi what sparked his love for Yo Lele, and he told me, well, it's Kafui Day. I mean, you introduced that music to him.
That was a great place. You soon do, you would hear all kinds of things, Ghanaian music, African music, great stuff. It was just a wonderful, and then I'll go and find little bits of information about the presenters, about the songs, and then just,
You were using the internet then?
no.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, the internet was brand new. So yeah, we were using the internet, but it was a laborious process. You had to dial up before there was no hotspot or something. But
Yeah.
we had internet and we used it. My radio kind of prowess, I got it from a guy called Dr. Fox. So now
Okay.
Dr. Fox was the host of the UK Top 30. It was a chart show that used to air in Capital on Saturdays in the afternoon.
From Dachi Vela?
No, they used to send the CDs over to us
Okay.
from a company, a production company in the UK. Capital signed up onto and then we played the chart show Saturday, the top 30 songs in the UK. And then when it was on CD, so when they finished, they would put the CDs in the library. Then Kosi and Asisa and I would go and pick the CDs, take it to my house, which is just down the road at Chinshayasu.
Yeah.
And then we would play the CDs all over and listen to what Dr. Fox was doing.
Yeah.
His intro, the way he selected his songs,
Okay.
the way he started, the way he kind of went from one song to another. And Dr. Fox was like a whole school. If I see him anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
I think I'll buy him a beer.
Yeah.
Man. Oh yes.
You owe
Because
him a lot.
I owe him a lot,
Yeah.
big time.
Yeah.
Dr. Fox was just great. Foxy, yeah. So we absorbed all that presenter knowledge from him. And it's you see, when I get young people coming to say, oh, give me your number, I want to get in touch with you, I want you to mentor me, and I smile. I give them the number anyway. If they
get in touch.
If they become a pest, I can block them.
Yeah.
I've never blocked anybody whose number I've given out
Yeah.
on that clip before. But
Yeah.
I don't know why people are obsessed with getting the numbers of people who they are in touch with. The people who I learned my stuff from, I never knew them.
Yeah.
You know?
So you don't necessarily
You
have
don't
to
have
be
to know
in
the
direct
person.
contact with
Just
someone.
find their
before.
work
Yeah.
and follow it. Now you have YouTube.
Yeah.
So you can actually follow somebody on YouTube and then get to know what they do and learn from them. You can read their books. You can read their books. So you don't have to have the person's number. Sometimes they have the number and they'll never call you.
Yeah.
They'll use your number to go and flex. They'll be with their friends and say, oh, I have Ni's number.
yeah, I
Then
have
they'll
this-
say, call him and say, oh, Ni, hi, is that Ni? Say, no, Charlie, my friends just didn't believe that I have your number. So I'm calling you for them to know that I have your number.
Yeah.
What's the point? You want to learn from people. They don't have to be close to you. Most of my mentors are not even alive.
Yeah.
If you come to the TV side, I can talk about Larry King on CNN. Larry King is dead now 2-3 years, but he had a long broadcasting career, 60 years. He started on radio and ended up on television and then went online. And I learned how to interview from him. You know, never met him before, but I watch his videos on YouTube. I've read his book. You know, you can talk to anyone and you learn. So learning doesn't have to be the person close to you. You can learn from people all around, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's a very interesting perspective. And this week I have been reflecting. There's a poem, Let Your Life Speak, listening for the voice of vocation by Parker Palmer. I mean, yeah, he's the one who wrote the poem. And it says, let your life speak, is a bit theoretical and autobiographical. And he shares his winding career journey, which includes wrong turns to fit into roles not meant for him. And he shares his search for his ideal vocation in life. And I try to link that to my own personal life. You know, I think I was pushed, to read science or engineering because that wasn't really my passion. I was passionate about the arts, but no one would listen to me. Because science during my time was a big thing. So it was so natural for my parents to push me to read science. And at the university, I read geology. But I still had, the inner calling, or a thing for communication, because I was passionate about people, listening to people tell their stories, telling stories of people. And I must say it took me 10 years, to reflect and finally decide to forget about everything and just get onto my vocation or my real calling, which is communication and talking to people, telling stories, etc. And so, at what point would you say you found your vocation on all the things you do? Did you know that you are going to be doing what you have done, in the past years, either music, broadcasting? Growing up, did you know that it was a given? This was what your vocation or your calling was?
No. In a way, I'm happy that the new senior high school curriculum is very flexible now. So you don't have to be a business student or an art student or a science student or a tech student. You can actually mix stuff, so you can do chemistry, physics. Say if you want to be a doctor in the future, you could probably do chemistry, biology, and then French.
Even biochemistry,
or IT.
anything.
So you don't have to do pure science or pure arts.
In your first degree.
And that's not even at the senior high school level. In Ghana, we had this, we specialize people too early. So right from O level or from senior high school, they say you are a science student. You can't do literature. You can't do French. You only do science, pure science. Or you are a business student. Do accounting, do business, do economics. You can't do physics. I could be a business student, but I love physics. Or I could be a science student, but I like art.
Yeah.
That wasn't possible. Now it is. Fortunately, my secondary education was mixed. I did my secondary part of it in the UK. In the UK, you could mix subjects. So I did physics, chemistry, biology, maths, literature, religions, music. I did like 9 different subjects.
At the A level?
At the O level.
Yeah.
And it was a mix of science and arts. Initially I toyed with the idea of being a doctor, but then we came back to Ghana and my combination, I wanted to read something like chemistry, because I love chemistry, music, and something else, and they said, no, you can't do a combination like that. You're either doing science or you're doing art. So I ended up doing economics and French and literature, so it took me down a different path. So I finished secondary school, went to university, and I just continued with the same subjects, English, French, economics. Graduated with English and French, toyed with the idea of doing like a master's. I wanted to be a lecturer or something. Didn't quite happen. After my national service, from the French department, I joined a company that was run by a former senior from secondary school. I bumped into him at a cafe, internet cafe, where I had gone to type application letters. I typed like 100 application letters, 100, and I was going to post them.
Yeah.
Looking for jobs.
This was after national service?
Yes, I'm telling you. This is like 1994. I finished my national service in 94, 30 years ago. And then I'm hunting for a job. So I wrote 100 letters all the airlines in Ghana, all the banks, all the major state-owned enterprises,
Yeah.
VRA, all those ECG.
Applying for any
I
available role.
wanted a job as a graduate, like an entry trainee manager because I had
okay.
a degree.
Okay.
So trainee manager job.
Yeah.
And I posted them. So I was in a cafe one coming out, and then I met this senior of mine, may he rest in peace. He passed during the COVID times. Yeah. Citizen Patrick Nuto.
Yeah.
Yes. He says, "What are you doing?" "Hey, Kafui." I said, "Oh, I'm looking for a job." So I've set up a company. I can give you a job. So my senior gives me a job, and my letters went out there. In fact, during my second job, then I started getting responses from some of them.
The applications, yeah.
VRA gave back to me. I could have ended up at VRA.
Yeah. By that time, you had started the
100 letters,
job, yeah.
only 3 of them responded.
Yeah.
300. Only 3, my brother. Yeah. So then I got into sales almost by accident. And sales is linked to communication.
Communications,
really.
yeah.
So it is for my sales job, my second sales job with a shipping company, that I was there one day, and then my boss, a Frenchman, Monsieur Leroux, said, "Well, Kafui, we have a cocktail tonight, and you are the MC." I said, "What?" He says, "You are the MC." I said, "Really? Yes, sir."
You had never MC?
No. He just declared that I was the MC. So, okay, no problem. What does MC do? Okay, you introduce the program, you introduce guests, you do the links, you end the program. Let's go.
Yeah.
So it was a cocktail. So that was my first gig. So I did it. Then I became the office MC.
MC,
So
the go-to.
Yeah. So all the office gigs, I started doing those things, and then I started doing family events as well, birthdays, funerals, things like that, So that was kind of preparing me for the kind of work I do now.
Yeah.
And then I go to university, I join the band, perform, finish university, then go to Capital. And then as I'm working as a salesman, still, I did sales for 17 years. Then I was doing Capital Radio as a part-timer. Came back to Accra in 99, resigned after 1 year from the shipping job, and then joined Choice FM, which is now Kasapa. This frequency is now what Kasapa has.
Yeah.
I did that for a year.
That's after you relocated from Kumasi.
From Kumasi to Accra. Yeah. I did that for a year, and then after the election, the 2000 election, I went back into shipping, sales. And so I was there for 8 years when I saw this ad in the paper. It was a big black chair, and they were asking, "Do you want to be the host of an international game show?" And I thought, okay, yeah, why not? So I applied. But before that, TV3, when TV3 came to town, TV3 came like maybe towards the end of the 90s, they were looking for presenters. And I applied for an audition. Yeah. Didn't pass though. The irony now is that at GTV, we share a wall with TV3.
Neighbors.
Yeah, we are neighbors now, you understand? Yeah, so that didn't work out.
Yeah.
But hey, I still didn't let it bother me too much. So when I saw this ad for the game show host, I applied. They wanted, apart from the letter, they wanted a video of you hosting something.
And I've never done anything.
I've never done any
like
TV.
Yeah.
All my experience was in radio.
Yeah.
On the pirate radio station at University of Ghana, and then Capital Radio, and then Choice.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I don't have a video. I have to create a video because they need it for the requirements. So I had a friend called Nana who was working with Greetings from Abroad. There was this TV show where it was sponsored by Ghana Airways, and they had
Greetings from Abroad.
Greetings from Abroad.
Nana Joa Windows.
Yeah, Nana Joa Windows, her show. So her production guy was called Nana. He lived in Tema. Back then I lived in Tema. I said, Nana, Charlie, I need to produce a video for a job I'm applying for. You go help me? And Nana said, yeah, we forgo get blue screen. I said, what be blue screen? So let's go to Tema Community 1, the market, go and look for blue cloth.
Oh, yes. So now green screen is a thing now.
You can also use blue screen.
Oh, yes. Blue, okay,
yes,
both
so,
colors.
So, exactly.
Okay.
So we went and bought this massive stretch of cloth.
From where? Kantamanto?
No, Tema market.
Oh, okay.
Because I lived in Tema, then I lived in Community 3.
Yeah.
And then we strung it up his wall. He had a white wall. So we put the blue thing there. And then I got into my suit and tie and everything. And I did a little presentation. And then he recorded it. And then he put the graphics behind me on that blue screen when he did the post-production.
Yeah. So he edited.
Yes. And then he sent it off. But I wasn't too sure that the video go really...
It'll pass.
Yeah. So I decided to go to Photo Club in Osu, the studio. And I went and took some shots, in my suit and everything. I took some... I had a stool that I stood there, posed, and added the photos to the video, to the letter, and I sent it off to the guys. And then I think after a couple of weeks, they called me.
Okay.
So, Charlie, I invited him to an audition
In Accra.
in Accra, in Osu, around a very famous eating joint there near Regal, near Regal Cinema. So I go there, I enter the place. There's 40 people there, all going for this one job, you know. And so I'm sitting down in the lobby waiting for my turn to be called, and I started looking at the competition. And
There were the other people.
yes,
Yeah.
well-known presenters back in the day, 2009, you know. Then I started eliminating them in my head, you know. So they know they don't go call you safe because you don't look like the person they want, you know. So if I saw somebody in a suit, no tie, I said, oh, they don't go call you. If I saw somebody in short sleeves
Yeah.
or jeans, they don't go call you, you know. So that was the game I was playing in my head, you know. And then they called me. They said, oh, I should present the show as if I've got someone in the hot seat and we're going to the first question or blah, 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 blah. I did all that.
No script.
No script, just imagination. So we finished, we went home. After a couple of weeks, they called us back. From the 40, we were down to 3. Yes. And the other 2 who I felt they would call her, they were there. The people who I felt would be eliminated, they all went home. So we did another round of auditions.
Auditions, yeah.
And then the guys went quiet for like a year.
For a year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you may have given up.
Well,
the
I just thought,
expectation,
because
yeah.
I didn't tell a lot of people that this
People,
was what I
okay,
was
you
doing.
had applied something, yeah.
So it's also only my family knew that this is what I was doing for.
Okay.
But in that year, there was an opportunity to host a TV show called In the House. So this is a private production where they go to the parliament, they speak to the MPs, majority leader, minority leader, just the business of the house. And then they edit it together and then they show it on Sundays at 9 o'clock in the mornings. So I did In the House for a couple of months. And then I got a call from the people that, hey, Charlie, we're going to Nigeria.
Wow.
We are now only 2. So we're going to do the
final audition.
Final audition. It's going to be a pilot. We're actually going to host a show. You know, so we went to Nigeria. And my opponent went first, so my contestant went first.
So you saw him?
No,
at
I
the
didn't see him.
venue?
No,
okay.
they put me in a room where I couldn't see what he was doing.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been fair.
But you knew him?
I knew him.
You saw him
Yes,
there?
yeah.
Okay.
Because he had been through all the
other auditions,
yes.
yeah.
So he went and came out. Then I also went, came back. Then quiet again for about a month or 2. One day I was driving around ShopRite. No, not ShopRite. Woolworths. Next to the old Shangri-La Hotel. I think I was suffering from malaria a little bout of malaria back then. Then I got a WhatsApp on my phone. Congratulations. You've passed the audition. You were the host of Who Wants to Be Rich. Will be airing in October. Blah, blah. I said the malaria just disappeared from my body. The parasites all just they fly.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Adrenaline. Yeah.
Charlie, I said, man, I've done it. You know? And so that became the beginning of a nice adventure for 3 years. And that show opened doors for me big time. I mean, when that show ended, I resigned from my office job, my sales job, which I'd been doing for the past 17 years.
So would you say then after the show, you had come to appreciate or accept your true calling or vocation and you had a good sense of what you wanted to do?
I felt like I just wanted to work for myself.
Okay.
I felt, and I looked at myself. I was a sales guy with a shipping company. I loved the job. The job gave me opportunities.
Yeah.
Took me to Takrady, took me to Kumasi, took me to all around the country. Because when I was in Kumasi, I was responsible for Brong-Ahafo region, you know, so and eastern region as well. So I used to drive to Odan, drive to Sampa. When you get to Sampa, you can see Côte d'Ivoire. You know, it's that close to the border where I was chasing cashew exporters, timber exporters. It was just a great job. But one day I sat down and said, Charlie Kafui, can you see yourself doing this, chasing importers of Brunei Wewu and used tires for the next 40 years?
Yeah.
I couldn't, you know. And so when I realized that this whole TV thing was opening doors for me, I had a long think about it. And then one day I went to my boss, immediate boss, and told him that I wanted to resign and go into the media. I was expecting him to kind of be like, oh no, we can't let you go, blah, blah, blah. He said, hey, listen, me myself, as I'm sitting here, if I get a good opportunity to do something that I want to do, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So he said, hey, go ahead and do what if you want to do it, go ahead and do it. I'm still in touch with him, you know. So all the people that I've left, the jobs that I've left, I'm still in touch with all those bosses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really good. It's important for you to, when you're leaving, wherever you're going, you leave on a good note.
You don't bend bridges.
No. So you can always come back to them, you know. Yeah, so the TV show opened big doors for me. I became like a professional master of ceremonies. because I had a corporate background, I was able to now talk to my former clients and say, listen, I've left as a salesman, but I'm available as an event manager for your corporate events. So if you have any launches, any stuff that you want a host for, I'm available to do it. You know?
So now you decided to do
yes,
corporate MC.
So I was an MC. Yeah, I was
professionally.
I was the first one who did it full time.
Yeah, in Ghana.
And I wrote a book on it. In
How to MC
2013. Any event.
Yeah.
I wrote a book on that in 2013, and I was writing articles in BFT, Business Financial Times newspaper, and on Facebook. So that was a branding. I didn't know that's what they called it back then, but
yeah,
I was getting a reputation for this kind of person, you know. And the show also opened doors for me because I was recognizable. You go somewhere and people recognize you.
People could easily make you out.
Yeah.
Because your face was everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
On the screens.
Yeah. So, but you said people were wondering, where did he come from? Well, let me tell you that I think I had a good background from radio.
Yeah.
I always tell people that if you want to go onto television, start with radio. Radio is good.
Yeah.
Radio gives you a chance to do your thing without people really seeing who you are. Yeah. Although now, these days, radio too has now become very visual. So you can see people, you can see what the presenters look like. But radio is good. It gives you a training ground, you know, and then you can go into television. Yeah. And I got to television with ignorance. I thought TV was just radio with pictures, but it's different. Yeah. But I'm grateful for that opportunity. Because,
so TV, radio, which one do you enjoy most?
I like both.
Both,
really.
yeah.
Radio too radio is, you know, really you can be more intimate with people. You can be closer to them. It's like you're talking to one person.
Yeah.
You know, I think I like both.
You like both, yeah.
I like both.
Yeah. Well, good to know. And you've not been selfish, obviously. I mean, you've always wanted to share your experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, you put them in writing books, a lot of articles, as you mentioned. And your first book was How to MC
Any Event.
And then you went on to, I think you have another book.
Public Speaking A to Z.
Stage Fright.
Yes.
Public Speaking A to Z.
Yes.
So how many books?
So How to MC Any Event, Public Speaking A to Z, then How to Turn Your Talent into a Successful Career. So I wrote that one as well.
Yeah, okay.
And I just launched a new one.
The latest one, I want us to talk about that.
Just recently.
I want us to talk about that. Very, very interesting.
Train yourself
to speak in public.
That's a brand new. It's literally 24 hours old.
So that's also another template, I mean, of public speaking.
Yes.
But what makes this book different from the others you've written about public speaking?
Here it will give you exercises, things to do.
Practical.
Yes, that you can use because the whole idea is that the book is going to train you to become a great public speaker. Public speaking is really important because the higher you go in any organization, the more talking you talk.
Yeah.
The more your communication has to be talking. You become almost a spokesperson for the company. And public speaking can help you with, if you're a salesperson and you have to make a pitch to a client, you need to know how to arrange your information in such a way that it is persuasive. If you're a lawyer, you need public speaking. If you're a teacher, you need public speaking. Engineers selling their design or whatever project to their colleagues, you need to be able to stand up in front of
and talk to people
and make your arguments clearly. So I wrote that book. It was based on the public speaking A to Z, but I changed the format a little bit and made it more instructional, and with exercises and insights that will help you to become a better public speaker.
I've had the opportunity to go through, and I must say it's very inciting and very, very a lot of things to learn from it. So I want us to just talk through some of the models.
Yes.
I think there are about 28 models. 26
yes,
models.
Yes.
And so the model 1 talks about the audience zone.
It's
tailoring
critical.
your message for maximum impact.
Exactly.
And so I just want to find out, why is the audience zone such an important component of public speaking?
Well, the word is public speaking. So the speaking is what you do, but the public side is the people who listen to what you're saying. If you're not sure of who your audience is, or you tailor your message to the wrong audience, you're not going to have the impact you have. If you are going to talk to engineers, but you come in speaking as if you're talking to lawyers, your message is going to be at cross purposes. You must know a lot about your audience before you can speak to them. Anytime I'm invited to go and speak in public, I ask a couple of questions. Listen, who am I speaking to?
Yeah.
What's the age range? What's the gender? Is it 50-50 male, female, or is it more women than men? You know, if it's more women than men and all your examples are related to things that men are more interested in, you're going to lose them. How much time do they have? You know, maybe there's 30 minutes during their lunch break, but you've prepared for a 2-hour presentation. After 30 minutes, they'll leave you.
Yeah.
You know, what do they want to achieve? I always ask, and that question I always ask it, even for TV interviews. At the end of this interview, what do you want people to take from it? You know, because if I know what the end is, then I can gear all my questions towards that.
Yeah.
When I interviewed Shatta Wale a couple of weeks back.
That was a good interview.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I asked him the question before we got on. I said, Shatta, what you want to get from this interview? And he said, oh, I want people to see me as a real guy.
Yeah.
A real person. I said, we're good to go. You know, although he came to talk about his album, and that's how come I spoke pidgin to him even.
Yeah.
Because I wanted him to feel relaxed and real, you know. So you always ask them, what do you want to get out of this? Then they'll tell you, you know. So the audience is key. And you're not doing the interview for yourself. You're not doing it for your own likes and your shares and your views. That's selfish. You're doing it to ask questions so that something can come out of the person. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So just a couple of days ago, one of my colleagues interviewed a musician who is a pastor. And he was talking about his music. And he said, oh, my last hit came out around the time my wife died. And immediately he said that, I sent a question to my colleague. I said, ask him about his wife.
Yeah.
Because my theory is if somebody says anything on your show, whether it's radio or television, it means he wants to say it. He or she wants to say it. So when they say it, go there.
I mean, yeah.
It may be a little sidetrack from the interview, your main topic, but you go there, you can always come back.
Come back to, yeah.
I sent a message to her. She didn't see the message. So I thought. Interview ended, she didn't ask the question.
That question, yeah.
So the interview ended, and then I asked my colleague, so how come you didn't ask him that question?
Yeah.
So, he said he's remarried now. I didn't want to go there. I said, no, but once he said something about his wife, you didn't force it out of him. He said it. You should have asked him. I said, oh, you know what? Go and ask him that question right now. We're now off air.
Yeah.
So she goes to the guy, Osofo, and says, Osofo, during the interview, you mentioned that your first wife died. How did you feel about your wife dying? You know what he said? He said, I felt like burning down Rich Hospital.
Oh, wow.
The guy got very emotional. He started wiping his eyes. Tears were almost dropping as he was talking about this medical negligence thing that cost the life of his wife.
So he had a lot in him, I mean, to share.
Listen, my colleague was there. She sat there. She stood there for like 15 minutes. She herself was close to tears. Yeah. Because the story was very emotional. Everybody was quiet and listening to this guy. And I was just thinking, oh, Charlie, this is gold. This is the news. Because from what he had said, once they aired that interview, people will also start connecting to it. Those who had suffered medical negligence,
had similar
doctors who are at the heart of this thing will also say, it's not always medical negligence. This and this happened. That would be a whole conversation. She missed it.
Yeah. That would have been a good, angle.
Exactly.
To whet public interest.
Exactly. So it's always good to, and I learned that from the work, that sometimes the guest is going somewhere, go with him or her small and see where it goes. And then you can always come back to your whatever you were discussing, you know. And so these are the things that you learn on the job, and it makes it very interesting. And like I said, I'm used to asking questions. So this where I am right now, it's completely different field.
Yeah, because I'm asking the questions and you are answering.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's a great job.
So building a connection with your audience is
audience is key. It's audience. Because you must always put yourself in the mind of the audience. What do they want to get out of this talk? If you are doing public speaking, what do they want to get out of it? If you're on the television, what will the audience want to hear about this? If you're speaking on the stage, who are the people I'm speaking to? How much time do they have? What do they want? Do they want to be educated? If they want to be educated, give them facts. If they want to be entertained, give them stories for them. If they want to be informed, let them know. If they want to be educated, teach them how. Yeah. So my book, How to MC an Event, is to teach MCs or people who want to be MCs how to MC. Yeah. If it was something about, if it was an entertaining book, I'll have lots of stories that people will get entertained with, but also learn from. So the audience is, I think, is number one. You must have maybe joint top with message. You must have a message, and then you must know who you're talking to in public speaking.
And in model 2, you also made mention of the importance of building confidence, or the key role of confidence in public speaking. Yeah. What did it take for you to build your own self-confidence?
I think you get confidence by being good at something, and you get good at something by starting and be prepared to make mistakes. That's all.
So being anxious, being nervous,
That's stage fright.
stage fright.
Yeah. It's natural. Everybody gets
You still
anxious.
get it?
Not as I'm just I want to do a good job.
Yeah.
But I know how to diffuse. You see, if say your talk is at 10 o'clock and you got there at 1 minute to 10 and you go straight on the stage, you will be nervous.
Yeah.
But if my talk is at 10, I got there at 9 or 9:30 and I stand at the gate, and as people come in, I just introduce myself to them and say, hi, my name is Kafui. I'm the speaker at 10 o'clock. I'll be talking about this. What do you want to learn from this talk? Tell
So
me,
more like an icebreaker.
yeah,
I mean,
you
for
start. You
just
start. You see,
diffuse the-
you're talking. You're getting on the stage. You don't start speaking on the stage. You start before.
Yeah.
You see, and there are times where I've spoken to people before I got on the stage, and then when I get on the stage, I say, "Oh, you know what? While I was waiting to get on the stage, I had a chat with the guy with the braids
Yeah.
and the dreads and the red T-shirt, and he said that the most important thing he wanted to learn from this talk was so. The moment he hears his name on the stage, there he himself will pay attention.
Yeah.
Because
his name has been mentioned.
exactly,
Yeah.
and then the people say, you know him. So no, we just met here. Then I have a connection with you already. So you try and have those connections with a lot of people before you get onto the stage. It's the same with TV interviews. What people don't know is that the Shatta interview like this, it started when I was taking my cocoa and my whatever breakfast when Shatta and his entourage came
Arrived,
to GTV.
yeah.
So by the time they were walking into the studio, I was sitting by the makeup department.
Yeah.
So I greeted him, and we walked into the studio together. And while we were walking in, we're just chatting. And then I asked him that question, Charlie, what do you want to get out of this interview? Then he told me, and then we went. So if you want to get the whole nervousness thing out, you have to focus on the person you are interviewing or the people you are talking to. It's not about you, it's about them.
It's about them.
If you put your phone on selfie mode right now, the person you will see is you. You see, and a lot of people go on stage in selfie mode. So they go on stage and they're looking at, hey, Charlie, so if I buy right now,
What will happen?
so
Yeah.
what will happen? Or as I go to the stage, now I fall. No one will laugh at me. Or I go then I make blank. I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. What will happen? So they're putting all the negative pressure on themselves. But you have to flip the camera. So that now you are focusing on the audience. Charlie, what do they want to get out of this talk? Okay, how long do they have? They have 30 minutes, so I have to finish this talk in 20 minutes and then give them enough time to ask questions. So you are telling yourself all these things. So the focus is on the audience. And God made us in such a way that you cannot keep two thoughts in your head at once.
Yeah.
If you are focusing on the audience, you will not be focusing on yourself.
Yeah.
You understand? You cannot think about two things. It is physically impossible for you to think about what you had for breakfast and what you're having for supper at the same time. You have to think about breakfast first, and then you stop and have to think about supper. That's how God made us. So focus on one thing, the audience and your message. If you focus, then you will not think about yourself. And people don't mark you. People are not there watching you and marking your mistakes. That's what a lot of speakers think.
Sometimes they won't even recognize or notice that you made a mistake.
You watch TV when you're watching the news and the TV presenter says, makes a mistake and says, oh, I'll take it again. Oh, immediately now you are alert because you want to know what she's taking again. But if she makes the mistake and just continues, you won't even know.
Yeah.
You understand? So people are not marking you. People want the news. I remember Azumah Nelson, Zoom Zoom, a great boxing champion. In the early days, his English, he was now working on it, so it wasn't as great as it now. It's now. He used to give his interviews in kind of interesting English, but we didn't care. The man had won his fight,
And everyone was
and
happy.
we were happy. We didn't care, man. We didn't care. Osophagus and his comedy stuff, he says all kinds of outrageous stuff. We're not marking his English.
Yeah.
Osophagus is there to entertain us. So once he's entertaining us, we're happy. Azumah Nelson is there to win the fight. There was one fight, he beat the guy so quickly that my father, I remember this so clearly. When they were getting ready for the fight, my father said, make her go to the washroom, go pee. My father went to pee and came back, and he looked at the TV screen. The fight was over. Azumah had knocked the guy out. He said,
like round one, round two.
They finished the guy in round one. And then when the people got to Azumah, they said, why did you finish the fight so quickly? Azumah said, you know what? My people have to go to church. My people are very religious in Ghana. They need to go to church on Sunday, the next day. I cannot keep them waiting for a long time. Otherwise, the fight will travel too deep into the night, and they won't wake up early to go to church. I have to finish this fight quickly so they can sleep early and then go to church the next day. It was great.
Yeah.
And so Azumah was just listen, when you are confident, it is almost magnetic. People are attracted to confidence, So know your stuff know the audience, focus on you're on the audience, and you realize that you'll not even be thinking about yourself, you know?
Yeah, so I just want to ask this question. It still relates to confidence, because in most of the books you've written at the dedication section,
Yeah.
you always talk about your mother,
Yes.
Olivia.
Yeah.
And you say she believed in you.
Big time.
I've always been curious about the backstory. I mean, what brought that certainty? Of her believing in you.
So we're recording this on the 5th of May.
Yeah.
My mother passed on the 6th of May, 2013. I'll never forget. You know.
So tomorrow is
this is exactly 11 years.
11 years.
11 years.
Yeah.
I remember that call that day. I got the call, and they said Mommy had passed. I said, what? You know. By the time I got to the house, I was living in Tema. Got to Adenta. They had taken her to the hospital already. And then the next morning, on the 6th of May, I went to 37. You know, and was it 37? No, it was Kolebu. They took it to Kolebu. When I entered the medical school morgue, she had been laid out on this table, metal table.
At the morgue?
Yes. They were just about to do the
autopsy.
Yeah, autopsy. In fact, the guy had actually started cutting. I think he cut her leg or so. I could see like bright red blood. And then when they saw me and they said I was her son, they stopped.
Ooh.
They left the room, you know. Then I entered the room and I held her hands.
Just the two of you?
Yes. And I held her hands, so cold. And I said, what?
Wow.
Her mommy died. I couldn't believe it, man. It was.
Yeah.
And one thing I will regret is that on this day, the 5th, that day, we're living in Afenya, so we drove to. There's a hotel. It's a forest. Don't know what forest hotel somewhere, but we passed the back route from Afenya to come to this particular hotel. And when we were at that hotel, from there to Afenya, where she lived, was maybe a 20-minute ride. And we were thinking, oh, since we're in this area, not too far, can we just drive to Adenta and say hello to the old lady? And I was thinking, oh no, maybe should have gone to church. So we went back. If we had gone to Adenta, I would have met her for the last time. That would have been
the last time, yeah.
Yes, yeah. My mom, she had this, she could tell when I was broke.
Yeah.
You know, she would just look at you and say, today your pocket is dry. Then she go issue me some money, man. I don't know how she did it, but actually she just could tell you that, she tell you, no, you are broke today. She would declare it. No, she won't ask you whether you are broke. She said, today you don't have. So let me give you something. Yeah. You know? And I had 3 brothers. One of them is pastor, so now we are 2.
Yeah.
She told me one day, when we were driving, because I used to take her to the village a lot to go and visit the relatives.
Yeah.
She says, you don't look like your father the way your brothers look like him, but you act a lot like him. You behave a lot like him, you know? I don't know what she meant by that, you know? But, and I used to do, she had this little shit-up business that we started when I was in Commonwealth Hall. So I used to take the shit-up and then put it in Commonwealth and sell it for her. And when I finished, I throughout my time while I was working, through Capital Radio, through Choice FM, she used to put the shit-up in paint buckets, huge ones like this. Then I'll go and sell to my customers. Those who were taking it abroad, we used to freeze it, you know, and then send. So I used to do her business for her. And then she would call me and say, she told marketing manager, do your job. I was her marketing manager. Do your job. And then I'll go and bring her customers. And she was just a wonderful woman.
So she trusted that you could always deliver.
Yeah. She had confidence in me. She had confidence in me. And she kind of just, she was very proud when I started doing Who Wants to Be Rich. You know, she used to call her friends and family and Leonard, my son is on television, you know. I wonder what she would have made of my GTV career now and the Star FM and everything, you know. But she was just a wonderful woman, very a go-getter, an entrepreneur, you know. She made things happen. And I always remember her. She was when I got married, she said, hey, my friend, nah, I'm not going to feed you again, no. So if you come home, don't be prepared to leave without having any supper.
For me,
I don't want any problem with you and your wife. She told me that. She said, don't. And then he gave me little bits of advice. Said, when you go to your mother-in-law's place and they serve you food, don't eat everything on the plate. Leave some for the children or for the dogs or whoever. Leave some on the plate. Otherwise, you would think that your wife is not feeding you well. You know. He said, leave something on the plate, lah. You know, little common sense things. You know. And she.
Are you still conscious of that?
Oh yes. I never finished everything on the plate. I remember her talking
consciously.
To me. Say no, don't left something on the plate. You know, and the whole mother-in-law, daughter-in-law thing, she played it very well.
Yeah.
If I was moving out with her and my wife, she would insist that my wife sits in the front, and she sits in the back.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, she appreciates her,
her
place.
She knew her role, that when you are married, then your wife now becomes your priority.
Yeah, I mean, she's
mother does not become a priority
Yeah.
again. Some marriages have kind of gone on the rocks because mother still wants to be number one, numero uno, and then she put the wife behind. You know, but she said, hey, listen, and I won't feed you when you come home. You know, go home so your wife will feed you.
Yeah.
Just little bits of common sense advice, and I think she made me see the importance of family.
Yeah.
So I was her driver to the village, whether it was to her side or my father's side. She knew my father's family, I think even more than her own family.
Yeah.
She could trace all the links and everything. So now my travels to those areas, I appreciate my traveling to my hometown now,
yeah.
and my
You
father's
go a lot of places. You
yes,
know the family.
She took, and the one time, there was a time I was recording the conversations. I don't know why I was doing that, but I was recording the conversations, and she came in like family tree, history, how this happened, this, all that. I have them all on tape right now.
Yeah.
Yes. So all that stuff is there, and she was great. Yeah, she was great. She was
Wow,
wonderful. Yeah.
that's
Wonderful
very
woman.
touching. I mean,
Yeah.
touching tribute. I mean,
Yeah.
to Olivia,
Yes,
Madam Olivia.
yes,
Was she a
really.
caterer?
She was a caterer.
Yeah.
She was a caterer. She made the best beef sauce in the world. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. She traveled. She followed my father around the world. My father was
Yeah.
a foreign service officer.
Okay.
So my big brother was born in Senegal. She was there, and then I was born in Burkina. She was there.
Yeah.
She was in Cote d'Ivoire. Went off to China for 5 years.
Yeah.
She was in Algeria. She was in the UK. In fact, in the UK, she took a catering course and learned stuff. When she was in China, she learned how to make Chinese food. You know, so she learned all these things, and she used them all in her.
Very industrious.
Yes, set up even a catering institution. She wanted to call it a restaurant in Teshnungwa. My father said, call it a chop bar. When you call it a chop bar, more people will come. What a restaurant. And they said, call it a chop bar.
And they did the trick.
My brother, when we left, the grown men were weeping.
Yeah.
Because their food, their akplen at 5
They won't
a.m.
get
had
to enjoy,
disappeared.
yeah.
I'm telling you, Teshnungwa, right behind the police station, Third Junction, the first estate house, the Oli's chop bar. 5 o'clock, akplen is ready, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
This has been very, very, very good tribute to your mother.
Yes.
May her good soul keep resting in
In
peace.
peace forever and ever. Amen.
So lastly, before we go, I want us to talk about one of the models in the
In my
new
book,
book.
yes, Train Yourself to Speak in Public.
Train yourself to speak in public. And you talked about the art of witty remark.
Yes. jokes.
That is using humor in public speak. And you said it's possible to deliver a great speech without cracking a joke.
Yes.
But it's hard to be truly memorable without being a little bit entertaining.
Yes.
I couldn't agree more,
Mhm.
but I also have or think that a lot of public speakers will have great concern for this, because while I acknowledge that laughter or humor it's very appropriate, you know, at various times of the event, because it helps the audience to calm,
Yeah,
it
relax.
relaxes them and enlightens their mood. How can you, as a public speaker, straddle, you know, the fragile line between being entertaining and being the source of entertainment?
Yeah. So you want to be entertaining and not the entertainer.
Yeah.
You don't want to take away the jobs that clean the drunk and all the chemical,
Bismarck
the joke,
Yeah.
all those guys, DKB, Jacinta, that's their job. Their job is to be entertainers. You want to be entertaining. It's important. The difference is clear. Stay away from politics, religion, sex. Those
Very sensitive.
can get you into trouble.
Yeah.
You know, go to and start doing an MPP, NDC joke in the Ghanaian setting, you are going to split the audience down the middle. 50% will like you, 50% will not. You want 100% to be on your side. So don't go starting, I don't do political jokes when I get on the stage. I don't even do jokes. I do like observations.
Yeah.
You know, observations. You know, so you can talk about doomsaw without being political. So how many of you are finding it hard to sleep these days, man?
The heat?
Because of the heat
Yeah.
that's going on, man. What are some of the crazy things that you guys have had to do to get rid of the heat in your house? You can just ask a question like that and just keep quiet, and the people will be thinking, you know, what were some of the funny things that if you want to make it, you don't want to make it too so what are the funny things that have happened as a result of doing so? What are the crazy things that you've done or funny things? Then get people.
You get to hear their stories. Tell
Exactly.
them what their experiences have been.
It's a wedding. Maybe the groom kissed the bride so violently, passionately. And then when it comes to the reception time, then you say, hey, Charlie, I knew the guy loved the woman, but Charlie, that kiss kind of confirmed everything, man. That guy, they loved the woman. He nearly vacuumed her mouth. Boom. But hey, it's all about love, Hey, they are expressing themselves in love. But how many of you felt uncomfortable kissing the woman in front of your parents? I know I did. Because, Africans, we don't express ourselves like that openly. You say things that people can connect with. It's not just you.
And it's humor. They will laugh. They will giggle. Yeah.
And you don't wait for the laughter. You say it and go.
Yeah.
You see, you say it and go. Some people, they get the reaction later on. After 5 minutes, they say,
think about it, then they start laughing.
But by that time, you've gone. So you're not saying the stuff to look for laughs, but you're just making just witty observations and you're continuing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't say, and then never say, let me tell you a joke. No. Even professional comedians will not say, let me tell you a joke. They just tell the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't even say it's a funny story. Just tell the story. Once upon a time, I was doing this and that and that and that and that. But there must always be a point to your humor. When you start a presentation with a funny story, after you say it, you might say, well, the reason I'm saying it is because it ties in with our topic that we're talking about. And then so people can see the link. You don't just throw it in the air and go.
Yeah.
It must always have a link.
Yeah.
It must be relevant.
Kav, I think this is very, very, very good point. Because I've had the experience of event organizers rushing up to me on stage and say, hey,
take a joke,
crack a joke. And it's like, I'm not the entertainment.
Crack a joke. It happens at weddings too.
Weddings. Mostly at weddings.
Crack a joke. No. But you see, you can sort that out with, if you have games that the people can play.
Yeah.
Yes. If you have games that people can play or icebreakers, one I've used quite effectively recently is they say, oh, okay, so after they've talked for a while, can you do an icebreaker to kind of lighten the mood? And I remember I did this just last week at a Mental Health Authority event, and then last month at an MTN event. I said, listen, guys, you remember this? We've been sitting down for quite a while now, so we're going to move around. And this nursery rhyme we had where, my head, my shoulders, my knees,
my toes.
No one does. No, head and shoulders, knees and toes, head and shoulders, knees and toes. So everybody gets up and so, head and shoulders, knees and toes. If you can't go down, don't worry. Head and shoulders,
knees and toes. They relive their childhood.
Man. Look, everybody was giggling.
Yeah.
When they finished, I said, when was the last time you did that? Then they all smile again. Then we continue.
Yeah.
So, and fortunately for the mental health, the theme was about movement. So I said, let's move. Have you moved? Let's move a bit, and then you do it.
Some exercise.
Yeah, that's it. Keep it. You see, humor works when it's unexpected.
Yeah.
Nobody expects a room of 50 and 60-year-olds to be doing head and shoulders, knees and toes. That's a kindergarten gig. So that's what makes it interesting and off, kind of not expected. Humor, when you connect two things together, which are not normally connected, that's when you get that kind of humor, because it's an act of creativity.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh. So, Kav, tell us about the new book, how people can get copies to purchase.
All right. So, my new book is called Train Yourself to Speak in Public. It's a manual to help you to do what the title says, train yourself to speak in public. It's available on my social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, which is X, and LinkedIn. So, go look for Kafui Day, and then you'll find me there, and the links are there. What I'm doing is I'm giving out the first 3 chapters for free. So just go to all the posts are pinned at the top of my platform. So on the top of the Twitter, X, top of LinkedIn, top of Facebook, you see it. And then just click on the link. You get the first 3 chapters free into your inbox. And then if you're interested in getting the book, I'll get back to you and then we'll show you how to get the book. The thing is, I want you to read it and then practicalize it. Use the knowledge there. You want to train yourself. And it's a skill that can take you to the highest of places. It can take you into a career of being like an MC. It can take you to help you with sales. If you're a teacher, it'll help you. If you want to propose to your woman, public speaking also helps, Yeah, so it's train yourself to speak in public. Watch out, there'll be a lot of articles on my social media to to just send that information out there. Yeah, wishing you all the best.
Thank you very much,
No
Kaf.
need, Charlie.
It's been a pleasure.
I've enjoyed answering the questions.
I was at the other side asking the questions.
Maybe so. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I wish you nothing but the very best with your podcast.
Thank you so much.
Make it happen, man.
And that's it for another episode of Other Side. I've had a wonderful conversation and a lot of learning points, and I hope that you also picked a lot of stuff, especially things that have to do with public speaking. Of course, Kafui Day is a wealth of resource when it comes to public speaking. We are so grateful to Velvet Green Gardens for hosting us. Is your go-to event center right at the heart of East Legon. Anything outdoor, you can always count on them for your weddings, for birthday parties, all social events, and even corporate events. Contact Velvet Green Gardens and you will be sorted. Until the next episode, this has been Other Side. My name is Nianan. Thanks for watching.